Hey, good morning, everyone. Excuse me. Good morning again. Wow, sorry. Welcome. Hey, this is Rick, by the way. Hey, everybody. Hello, Julie. Hey, Thomas. Devendra, JW. Let's see. Roger. Where are we going here? There we are. Stefan with Tommy. Yorna, gold to mine. Joe, Chip, Rod, and Sonny. Good morning to everybody. Deborah, how you doing? Deborah from Florida. Welcome, everybody. Here, let me throw this up real quick and then take that off. And then let's go over here. There we go. Okay. Well, what is it? Futures are down. U.S. economy shrunk by 0.3% in the first quarter. Welcome to the beginning of a possible recession, right? Hey, let's just stick with the charts. I think that's the best thing to do. I really do. I think it's the most straightforward thing to do. So you can see that we're pulling back this morning. The battle has begun today. So we don't know how the battle's going to end. At this point, if the battle ends, for me anyway, with those red dots, because that's what I follow for a trend, if that green dot turns red, and the only way for that to turn red is to have price come below it. Well, I'm going to call the bears are winning, and then I will go into that bearish stance where we're looking for shorts, not as many longs. Maybe we take a long. There's always going to be something out there long. Then what I'll be looking at is the possibility of this gap right here being filled. That's a big, should have done it this way. There we go. That gap being filled right down there. And then, of course, there's always that fear that we just continue to go down and maybe test these lows, and we could go down lower and test those lows, and we could go down lower and test those lows. And I'm pretty sure we could find some other lows to test if that's the way the battle ends up today. One thing I'm not going to do is panic, except for maybe I'm going to panic on PLTR, meaning I'm going to close that out. I'm going to put about 60% my profit. I mean, in my profit, yeah, I'm going to put 60% back in my pocket, and I'll wait till PLTR sets up again. I think over time PLTR goes higher. Excuse me. Not enough coffee this morning. In time, I think PLTR goes higher. But in the meantime, as a trader, I'm going to trade it, up and down, up and down, up and down. And I think it's time to take the last of those profits on that PLTR. So that'll be a nice little coin in the piggy bank today when I do that. Okay, let's take a look at the Qs here real quick. And whoops, that's not Qs. That's why. There we go. You can see the Qs are pulling back pretty much right there at that 50-period moving average and that 50% retracement. Again, this is going to be my trend, okay, right there. So if we fail that, once again, I'll be going into more of a bearish stance. Now, there is one possibility that we pull back and we find support on the trend line from the top down where we broke out. There is that possibility, but we don't want to predict that. We want to wait and see what the candlestick does. It's like predicting yesterday. There are a certain amount of people that said, hey, I'm going to go short because GDP is going to suck. Okay, you're right. But there was no way to predict that. There's some people that went long because they probably thought GDP was going to be just fine and the market's going to go up. Well, there's no real way to predict that. We can look at a chart and we can make predictions at the right time. So for instance, let's say we do come down, okay? And we come down again. And since I was talking about the possibility of support on that trend line, how can we predict that? Well, we can predict it when we start seeing buyers. So we can see what's going on here. That's just like today. Nothing is saying that we're going to collapse today. Not yet. So we could come down today and the bulls could step right in here. How do we know that's not going to happen? Now, I'm not holding my breath on that one. I got to tell you, I'm just saying, how do you know? And this is why following the chart is so doggone important. Okay. Hey, good morning. Hey, Vernon, Stefan, Ed, Ralph. Hey, good morning. Thanks for showing up. Appreciate it. Got some folks from YouTube over there, X, Facebook. Very nice. Thanks a lot. So, little caution today. So, I've got a watch list here, and I kind of changed my watch list sort of at the last minute. For instance, I added TZA. One of the best things that ever happened to me years ago was once when somebody said, "Hey, Rick, do you know anything about the inverse ETFs?" And I said, "Nope, I don't have a clue." Well, they shared that with me, that inverse ETF knowledge, and I got to tell you, it was one of the best things that ever happened to me. So if you like going long, okay, if you're not great on shorting, or you don't understand it, or maybe your account doesn't allow you to short. Some accounts don't allow you to do that. There are ways to trade the market, be long in a shorting market or a weak market. Take a look at TZA. And what you're doing is you're betting that IWM, the Russell, is going to move down. And you can see how that's starting to shape up right there. SDS, SDS is on there. If you want to trade the S&P 500 or the SPY, maybe you want to short some SPY, buy some SPY puts, but you can't for whatever reason, and because maybe it's too expensive. One way to do it is to take a look at SDS here. Let's keep an eye on that. I've got that on the scanner. I'll be watching that today. SQQQ is one of my favorites for looking at the Qs right in here. So if I start seeing SQQQ holding in here and showing some strength, then I just might have to jump into some of that. Now, one of the things going to help me make that decision is T2123 here. So my T2123 is going to have to fail. I don't want to trade just on a wimpy day, just because it's we had poor GDP, and because the market is in what could be just a knee-jerk reaction. Well, I don't want to get out there and trade that. Some people do. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's not my style. So I'm not personally a day trader. I don't care to day trade. So I will let the candle finish. I will let the market settle itself down, and then we'll see what we've got to trade here. But one thing I'm going to do is wait for T2123. Now, unfortunately, this is not real time, so I don't get to see what this is right now, pre-market. Now, if we start moving down here, a little bit down like that, well, that's still not bearish to me. On the other hand, if we get below those green dots, okay, that is what I'm going to look at being bearish. And then, of course, I'm going to watch the VIX over here. And if the VIX breaks out of this line right there, we're going to be concerned, and we'll have to take a bearish stance on that. Anything below this red line, say we run up, but we don't break out, well, to me, that's just going to be a knee-jerk reaction. So we'll keep an eye on that very close. Be watching that pretty darn close today, actually. Okay, with that said, Cat reported, and it appears, and all these were put on the list really early this morning. So a lot of some may have changed by now. But Cat here is holding up. We've got a low. We've come up here and made a little high, higher low, higher high, and then we're flagging to the right, pop out of the box. And it does seem to be holding up. So right now, Cat might be on that long list. I would look at, Cat over that 307.50 area, and the targets are pretty simple. You've got the 50 period moving average. Whoa, I do that when I don't pay attention. There we go. There we go. We come up here and look at these tops over here, and that puts us right into the dotted deuce up here, and then maybe the 200 period moving average. GBTC is still holding up. So it's nice. Like I said, I put these on my list early this morning, so it's nice to see that some of them are still holding up. Here's a nice little flag right in there. Pop out of the box. If flag, pop out of the box. Setting up. We're setting up close to a 3/8 trap right in here. And you can see that we've got a nice little move up, a pullback. You've got a nice little flagpole there. There's your flag. Watching for that buy signal in there. Truthfully, if the market is going to pull back a little bit, what I would like is for us to pull back into this area, and then maybe we find some buyers in here. And then we've got some nice targets up above there. So GBTC, IBT, IBIT, some people are following that one, IBIT. And that's another 3/8 trap setting up. And that still looks like it's going higher. It doesn't look like it's too affected by the GDP numbers. MO, nice bullish engulf. We've got a little inside day today. I don't know how many people are here familiar with what I call the buy box. Let me do that. So say we put a bullish engulf in yesterday, right? Just like we did here. Well, what I'm going to do is draw a little box around that. Now, I'm going to bring that box up to the trend indicator here because I don't want to buy anything below the trend indicator. If that's your plan, I think it's tomorrow. I think somebody please correct me if I'm wrong, and I'll correct it here. Tomorrow we have member e-learning in our combo room, which means we have hit and run candlesticks, we have BYOB trading, and we have right way options. We group together and we each do about 45 minutes of e-learning for all the members of the hit and run candlestick family tomorrow, starting at noon Eastern. Well, the topic tomorrow is setting up your trade plan. So this is something, or planning a trade, maybe that's what it is. This is what I would do setting up a trade or a trade plan. So yesterday, I would put a box around yesterday's candle because that's a candle that I'm interested in, along with the fact we're trending up. So I'm looking at this, and then what I want to buy is an inside day, because if you like that bullish candle right there, well, then you ought to love the fact you can get this for a little better price. I mean, you ought to just absolutely be turning somersaults. So something like this right here, nice inside day, that might be a nice entry if you feel, this market is buyable today. MO. Coke is another one. See, this is another one where yesterday you had a bullish engulf off the 50 period moving average. So I'm going to draw a buy box around that. Again, and I usually go a little bit above the candle because, you've got those breakout situations. Bottom of the trend indicator here. So there's the area that I would consider buying this. And of course, a breakout would make sense as well. Again, setting up your trade plan. I see a chart that's trending. I see a chart that's pulled back. I see a chart that gave us a bullish engulf. Now I need to find a place to enter it. An inside day, that's what this is, would be an entry. And as it moves up, or that breakout there. What else do I have here? LAC, is that still holding up? Not bad. LAC, we've got a nice double bottom here. We've rallied up to the 200. We're basically just flagging right here. Looks like the bottom is about the 50 period moving average, all holding right through there. So let's draw this in here. There you go. So you can draw that flag in there. If you want to put the buy box, you can do that. That would make sense. So inside day, I'm looking at this candle as being the main candle. So an inside day that can be bought. And then of course on that breakout. If you look at the chart here, it looks like we break out of that construction zone at about we'll call it 310. And that might be a good place to look at that as well. I just want to look at the SPY real quick. Okay, we're still holding in there. KR, There were several folks in the Hit and Run Candlesticks room yesterday. By the way, we had a wonderful open house yesterday. Thank you so much for everyone that participated. And we've already got one planned for next month, so I'll keep everybody up to date on that. So here's KR, and I know that several members and maybe guests in the room yesterday picked up this KR. So if we're going to put the buy box on there, let's do that. Just like that. Move that up just a tad. There we go. So anywhere in this area is where I would look to buy this. Of course, everyone wants to buy it cheaper, but it may not give us that. But if it does break out, you might wish you were in it. So we'll keep an eye on that. Might buy that when the market opens up. And I will post to here in the room, of course, and then on the app. So if anyone downloaded, any non-members that downloaded the app yesterday, you'll be getting that for the next 7 days. Let's see here. PLTR, we already covered that one. I will be closing that out today. RKLB, I'm just watching this for a buy. It wasn't giving any kind of buy signal this morning, but you can see it pulling back. But it's one of those charts that I kind of like, so just watching it here. You can put the buy box on something like this. Here we gapped up. So I'm going to take the move that's interesting and go to the top. And that's where I would want to buy it. This move is interesting. That makes me look at it. That's what I mean. I'm actually going to pull this back down to the trend indicator. So that's where everything started. Here you gap up. You had a bullish day. You've had some follow through, and now we're having a pullback. So that's the buy box. And what we're going to look at, if we get that buy signal in there, that might be a buy. Some folks might wait till it moves up. Some folks might wait till it breaks out. Different strokes for different traders. But RKLB is one that I've got on the watch list watching. NWL. Let's take a look at NWL, and I think that's the last one I have. I put that on here just because it was moving sideways. It wasn't this bad when I put it on here, but you can see that maybe the buyers are picking it up. We'll see. Okay, what do you all have? Hey, good morning, Nancy. Good morning, Sean. How are you? Yeah, you sold your NVIDIA. Yeah, I might wish I sold mine. Yeah, I'm still holding a little bit of NVIDIA as well. We'll see how that plays out today. But yeah, NVIDIA here, let's put a trend line on NVIDIA, and we're going to start right there. We're going to go to that low, and then we're just going to go wherever it goes, but we're going to stay with that low right here. So watch NVIDIA. Maybe the buyers pick it up here. Maybe they don't. If they don't, I'll have to close my NVIDIA. Yeah. What else do we have here? Oh, you're still long. Oh, you sold some calls against it. Way to go. Nice. Way to go. You're a smart cookie. All right, let's see. Does anyone have any charts to look at over there? Nope. See what I can find here. Is there anything? Where did... Probably some folks looking for some charts, aren't you? DKNG. If you take a look at DKNG, that might be a short setting up here. See, it's starting to roll over, build that H pattern in there. Hydro, you're looking at Wolf. Not until he gives us a buy signal. I'm afraid with yesterday's candle that sucked all the wind out of the sails. So you're going to need to see the buyers step in there, I think. So, I mean, I love the chart up until here, and then the chart just stinks. So what is a buy signal? Let's say we close negative today, negative candle, buy signal, pretty simple. That's a buy signal. That's not a buy signal, pretty simple. And we're going to have to hold in this trend here. So I would put Wolf on the back burner if it were me. VXX. VXX, try that again. Here we go. VXX. VXX. There we go. You can see VXX is moving up. We're trying to put in that buy signal. If VXX moves up over this red line, yeah, I'm going to say that's a buy. So here's VXX been down a little bit sideways. If we do end up doing that, then to me, that would be a buy. And at the end of the day, it's going to have to close up there. So if it does this, let's redo this. Let's say we move up here and then we close down. Well, we're going to be under the trend indicator here. The trend indicator will still be red. I don't know if I want to hold it there, because if that moves down, that means the SPY probably gained some ground and has a pretty good wick on it. So, early buys, if certainly, absolutely. Over the T line, absolutely. That's what I'll look at. And then it'll have to close up. It'll have to close up there come the end of the day. Okay. Thank you. What is that? Thoughts on BANC long? BANC long. What's with my BANC long? Not for me, but maybe for somebody. But yeah, not for me. So let's do this. We're going to draw a line like this. And then we're going to draw a line like this right there. And that's what I would look at. So, to me, I've got to ask myself, is it worth the trade right here? 6-7%. And for some, it might. And all the way up to the 200. You're looking at 10%. If you buy in here, that could be a trade for somebody. But I'm thinking more like over the 200 period moving average. Let the bulls prove themselves. Let them do that. And then we can trade. Let me get rid of this. And then let's put this in. There we go. At the very minimum, very basic minimum right there. And that would be over the 50 period moving average as well. Yeah. May go sideways for a bit. So what else do we have? Let's see if we have anything over here on the old scanner. That KR is still popping up. That's still a good looking chart right there. Did I miss anything on the watch list this morning? Oh, PSQ. This is another inverse ETF that might be worth a look right in here. Okay. All righty. Let's call this a morning. It's about that time anyway. Again, I want to thank everybody for being here. I absolutely appreciate you coming to our Charts and Targets pre-market every day here, Monday through Friday. That was for those that's listening to this recording later on. And we'll see everyone tomorrow at 8:45 Eastern, okay? You guys take care. Thanks a lot. And I'll meet you, members. I'll meet you back in the room in about 20 minutes, okay? You guys take care. Thanks, everybody.